game is over, over.
Right from the start, it was obvious that something was wrong with the Vikings today. There were missed passes, missed tackles, and all sorts of mistakes. The Vikes just weren't themselves. Well, it was almost as though there was a full moon in Houston this afternoon. At times, this game resembled an old spaghetti western. Indeed, for the Vikings, there was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh, was there a lot of ugly. And so after 15 Sundays, the Vikings' wheel of fortune has come to a halt.
Oh, no.
Once again, Viking fans can repeat the familiar phrase, wait till next year.
Just does not get much more frustrating. In one afternoon, we lose a game, a playoff berth, and a quarterback. A lot of people complaining about the officiating in today's game, and there's no doubt it was horrendous. But a couple bad calls did not cost the Vikings this game. Let's face it, it was their poor performance that knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs. Tommy Kramer told reporters afterwards, we made enough mistakes in the first half to last 3 games. For a time, the Vikes were doing okay today. Greg Coleman is ready to punt, but a literally sees an open alley. He sprinted 30 yards upfield for a first down. A couple plays later, Tommy Kramer completed his first pass of the day, 32-yard strike to Alan Rice, and the Vikes, they led 7-3. It was to be their only lead of the day, however. This was the biggest play of the game. On 1st and goal from the Oiler 1, Darren Nelson loses the ball. He actually never had a handle on it, and the Oilers recovered. Vikes just never recovered from that setback, which in turn gave the Oilers the impetus to move ahead and stay there. Vikes came into the game with the lowest turnover rate in the league, but this afternoon they coughed it up 6 times. And the Oilers only too happy to take advantage of the situation. Warren Moon to Ernest Givens for the go-ahead score, and basically that was it. Tommy Kramer was ineffective, left the game with a bruised elbow. Wade Wilson's luck was just as bad. Houston 23-10. We'll have much more in the game in just a few minutes on the Vikings tonight.
Fly away if you can use some exotic foods. There's a far and far Bombay. Come on.
I love the smell of jet fuel. Yes, the airport is our domain. Gate 22 our kingdom as we wing our way back from the Lone Star State. I'm Mark Rosen. Scott, Greg, Darren, and I are all filled up on complimentary bags of roasted almonds, and we've read our share of Aeronautical Magazine. We're ready to talk football, only on Vikings Tonight.
Once I get you up there,
Vikings Tonight is brought to you in part by Midwest Federal, your good tree to come to for shelter since 1891, and by U.S. West Direct, publisher of the Yellow Pages.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to this late edition of the Vikings Tonight, live from Twin City International Airport. I'm Mark Rosen. Well, as you probably know by now, the Minnesota Vikings are out of the playoff picture, a victim of surprisingly listless play, bad calls, and some bad breaks in Houston today. The Vikings certainly were their own worst enemy this afternoon. Until today, they led the league in the fewest turnovers with only 22. In the Astrodome, they committed 6 miscues, 3 fumbles, and 3 interceptions. Despite the miscues, they were still in the game in the final 2 minutes, trailing 16-10 when they blocked this field goal attempt. It appeared the Vikings had a chance, but even that chance went down the drain. Tim Newton was called for holding, an unusual call to say the least for a field goal attempt on the defense. There were other plays and circumstances that triggered the Vikings' downfall, but maybe none more frustrating than this final blow which put the Vikings out of the playoffs. As Vin Scully would say, Houston was playing with house money when Alan Pinkett scored for an insurmountable 23-10 lead. Wait until next year was here, 1 game early for Minnesota, and it showed on their faces on the sidelines.
It's probably professionally as discouraging as any time I've ever played a football game. It's sitting there. Everything fell into line. All we had to do was our part was to win. And not to be able to do it is as big a disappointment as I can think about. I mean, it's done, it's finished. playoffs are over and that's what you play for. That's the only reason you play this game. And to not be able to get into them, especially when we've worked hard and done supposedly positive things, and to lose to a Houston team, which is mediocre at best, is probably as professionally disappointing as any game I've ever played in.
Offensive lineman Dave Huffman of the Minnesota Vikings, of course, our regular co-hosts here, Scott Studwell, Greg Coleman, and Darren Nelson. Scott, let's start with you. The Vikings picked this time of the season to perhaps play their worst game of the year today.
Well, I think it was pretty self-explanatory. We just didn't play well. We didn't play well on either side of the ball. Defensively, we didn't come up with the plays when we needed to. Offensively, they didn't move the ball as well as I thought they should have. And there's nobody to blame but ourselves. We just stunk it up. It was that simple. And it's certainly our timing was bad. And you come into a situation where you've got everything to gain and you play as poorly as we did. And with the exception of the turnovers, we were still in the game. We really had a chance to stay in that football game and had chances to win it. And it's going to be disappointing because we're going to look back when the season's over and think of all the chances that we had and all the opportunities that we had, and it's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
Greg, do you have any feeling at all about that this might happen before the game today? I mean, fans are going to want to know. You're going to want to know. We talked about on the way home. How could this happen today?
Mark, you know the old cliche on any given Sunday, well, God, I mean, this was just our Sunday. I mean, at this point, I have no feelings whatsoever. I think Scott summed it up. We didn't play well on either side of the ball. Usually when a game like this is sort of stalemate, when you're not, I mean, things have got to happen. We've got to make things happen. And on special teams, we didn't make them, we didn't make them happen. That would be the catalyst to take your ball team over. We didn't do it today.
The Houston defense was probably perhaps a little bit better than a lot of people thought, although all week we heard, Darren, that this defense really is not that bad. So did you feel the Vikings offense was out of sync from the start, whether it be Kramer or Wilson in there?
I think the first really bad thing that happened to us is that, well, first of all, this year we lost one fumble all year long. And then all of a sudden we get to the Houston game we lose to 3 fumbles and we throw 3 passes that get picked off. So that's bad enough right there. And then we don't execute very well. And I think we just picked the wrong time to play an absolutely terrible game.
Well, as you said, Darren, as we said, the Vikings running backs had been unflappable all season, fumbling only once in over 400 exchanges. And Darren, though you were part of this one here early in the game, the Vikings had a chance to go 14-3. You just never connected with Tommy here?
I think I kind of bumped into Tommy. Right when I hit Tommy, somebody hit me and the ball came out, so I didn't have a chance to wrap the ball up.
We're going to take another look at it here.
Well, it's kind of a bad angle to see it, though.
That certainly was.
Still, it's just something that you can't do. If you're going to go down there, you should at least get 3 points, and we didn't do it.
Well, Houston ended up having the punt, but look what happens. Alan Rice calls for the fair catch and fumbles.
Well, it was a difficult situation for Allen because this guy's a left-footed punter and the ball rotates totally different. I don't think we've faced for one other left-footed punter all year, and the ball takes a different kind of a bounce. It comes down differently, and Allen couldn't handle it.
Then it's Warren Moon to Ernest Givens on the next play, and it's completed at 99-yard drive while causing a 2-touchdown swing in a sense. 10-7 Houston lead. And you look at Givens. This kid's a rookie wide receiver from Louisville. 6 receptions for 108 yards and 1 touchdown. You could say perhaps, Scott, it was a fluke today, but Givens has gone over 1,000 yards. And the Houston team is maybe not getting the publicity, but this kid's a pretty good wide receiver.
Well, both their wide receivers, both him and Hill. We knew coming into the football game that he had great speed. I think he runs maybe a 4.3 or a 4.25, and he's played well for him all year long. So there wasn't any big surprise there. We tried to do some things to give some double coverage to our corners on their wide receivers, and I thought Moon executed extremely well today for a guy that hasn't played that well all year long, and he came up with some big plays for him. And we didn't put enough heat on him, and we gave him too much time to throw the ball. And it's just one of those deals where everything they did right, and everything we did wrong.
Really, it was the type of thing where Warren Moon, the one thing he did not really do today was throwing the interceptions. He was way up high, especially their turnover ratio, but he's really been throwing a lot of balls.
Well, he really hasn't been playing all that well. I think in the town of Houston has been extremely, they've been down on him the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's been hurt. He certainly came in the game and gave him a spark, and we kept him in the game, basically. And that was I mean, we had a chance to go up, as you said earlier, there was a 2-touchdown swing on the fumble and then the fumbled punt, and that gave them some life. And, you know, we beat ourselves today. They didn't beat us.
And that was a big point, certainly, of the game. Well, coming up a bit later, a visit to Coleman's chiropractor, but first, more sounds from the Vikings locker room and head coach Jerry Burns.
No, I don't have any explanation. You know, we had fumbles where we weren't fumbling the ball previously, and pass rush was overwhelming to us, and we could do a good job relative to protecting from the passer. And they came with the blitzes, but we've in general been able to throw off pretty well. Defensively, times we played well, but it seemed that Boone was just making about every third down conversion that he had. He was putting the ball in there in tight quarters, and they were making some fine receptions. You know, I can't alibi it, but obviously it didn't hurt. It didn't help us having to take Tommy out of there just before the second half, and not playing at all the second half. You know, he's our trigger man, and you got to compliment the Oilers defense. We knew going in that the Oilers defense is very, very strong, and they didn't do anything to change my opinion of their defense. Offensively, they played better than I thought they could, or I thought they would. I didn't think we'd have any problem shutting down their running attack, and we had a problem with that. On the reverse there, we had the guy dead to right. Should have been a 15, 20-yard loss. Two guys missed him. I don't have any explanations why in such a critical game we would not play better, but I guess that's the nature of the game.
Tonight live from Gate 22 here at Twin City International Airport. Well, things appeared to be going the Vikings' way in the second quarter when Greg Coleman's fine move put the team in scoring position. This was not supposed to happen. It was not a planned run, Greg, but you had to take off because of the rush.
Well, you know, Floyd Reese has been down in Houston, and he's come up with a few new wrinkles, and it was just a situation that I didn't feel we were going to be able to pick it up, and took off. There was only one guy on that side, and we were fortunate enough to pick up the first down.
It was a big play, 30-yard gain. It set up Kramer's touchdown pass to Alan Rice, Darren.
On the pattern by Alan Rice, and you see he beats the guy clearly and score.
That went up to 7-3, the Vikings at that point, but on this play, late in the second quarter, Kramer threw an incomplete pass to Steve Jordan and came up hurting. Now, Tommy hurt his elbow. It was a nerve problem, and he tried to grip the ball, but just could not stay in the game at that point.
Well, I think that was a big disappointment for our offense, you know, because Tommy's back at home and he's playing in front of his home crowd, and not to mention we had just got him back last week, you know, so it was kind of a disheartening situation to see him go out of that game.
Of course, Wade Wilson went in, completed 11 out of 27 for 146 yards and 3 interceptions. The Vikings put the ball in the air quite a bit at that time. They're really looking deep most of the day. Was that the way the Houston defense was playing you? Wade was throwing a lot of balls way downfield.
Well, I was kind of surprised that we threw the ball as much as we did, especially since when we came right out in the first quarter and ran the ball so well. Not to mention that they have the best pass defense in the football right now. I think teams are completing about 45% passing against them. So I was kind of surprised that we threw as often as we did.
Nothing that could change at that point? Any of your guys' input would make any difference? I suppose just up to Schnelker at that point on the sidelines. Huh?
Well, you know, as players, we don't have that much input. But, you know, he's offensive coordinator. He calls the plays, and if he calls the play, you're supposed to execute it.
Well, certainly the Vikings did not play well, but some bad breaks and highly questionable plays and calls only enhanced the bad situation, making it worse. Here's the case in point. In the third quarter, Wade Wilson's pass was allegedly intercepted by Keith Bostic. The replay clearly showed it hit the ground. And guys, I know you're watching the play on the sidelines. You can see it on the house system there. And here it is. Any comments?
I'm just trying to understand how come their official didn't see this. I mean, everybody else in the stadium could see this, but apparently their camera upstairs didn't get that angle.
Exactly right. I'll explain that a little bit later. We have the official comment from Fred Silva, who's the replay official. The Vikings' next possession, Alan Rice fumbled again. As you mentioned, Darren, this has just not been happening in the Vikings all year.
There's something that happened. I don't know why or why it took this game to happen, but it did.
There's another look at it. There's actually Wade Wilson throwing deep to Leo Lewis, and he overthrew him here. This is the kind of coverage they're giving you, one-on-one.
I think they were playing a lot of bump and run coverage, and there Leo's wide open, and that just shows you how our day went.
And there's another example here. Option pass to you.
Right. it's just our day when we just kept getting those near misses, and unfortunately, it cost us in the end.
Getting back to that, to the one play that was called the instant replay official, Fred Silva's the man upstairs. Now, here's his interpretation. The interception from the shot that I had on the sideline angle could not confirm catch or no catch. I had to say inconclusive on that. What I did say, however, was if the man, Bostic, did catch the ball, the Minnesota man fell on the back of his leg, so he would be down and touched. Now, thus he could not get up and run as he did. Jim Hill, who was doing the game for CBS, leaned over and said to me, "Didn't you see our end zone shot?" I told him, "No, I did not. We were not shown an end zone shot. We saw the end zone shot 3 or 4 plays after it was clear as could be that it was an incomplete pass, but that we did not have it at the time of the call." The reporter followed that up by saying, "So if you would have seen that end zone shot, it would have been an incomplete pass?" Silva's response was, "It would have been an incomplete pass for sure." Which brings up the point, how could Fred Silva, sitting up in the booth, be the only man in the Houston Astrodome today to not see that replay? I mean, everyone on the field saw it, the guards saw it, the concession man saw it, everyone in the media saw it. Fred Silva, who was responsible for this multi-billion-dollar business sitting up there in the press box, could not see that replay. Now, it did not have a bearing on the game. The Vikings ended up getting the ball back after the punt, but it's just a sham that the National Football League has a system like this. Now that I got that off my chest, any other further comments on it?
We've talked about it before, and it's either they have to find a way to improve it or they have to abolish it. Obviously, it has proven to be not effective. They've made so many glaring mistakes, and you can understand the human element of it. When they do make a mistake, you can live with it, but when they make a mistake, when everybody else but the officials knows that it's wrong, they should either figure out a way to fix it or they should get rid of it. It obviously has not working. It's costing teams some ball games, as you said before. It didn't cost us a game today, and that call shouldn't have made any difference whether or not we won or lost a football game. But it's wrong, and I think it's an embarrassment to the officials. I really do.
It's also perplexing that this game had been nationally televised. I mean, you can imagine the kind of flack they would have received on it.
It stinks. I mean, Mark, you know, the commissioner continually harps on the idea of cheap shots and drugs are ruining the image, ruining the integrity of the game. This doggone officiating is ruining the integrity of the game. I tell you, you know, you got 45 guys that go out and bust their behinds for 3 hours, and to have an official to make a call that decides the outcome of the game, like Scott mentioned, this one particular play didn't cost us a game, but it very well could have. They made some a lot of other questionable calls, and I'm sure it's not only happening to the Minnesota Vikings, it's happening to the other 28 teams around the National Football League, and we're just fed up with it. I mean,
that's all you can say.
There's no way that play should have even went upstairs. If the officials had been in some kind of position in the first place, which they're supposed to be, then there's no way that play would have went upstairs. I mean, somebody had to see that the ball clearly hit the ground. Nobody had possession. Nobody even was close to having possession of the ball.
I tell you, Jerry, I hate to cut you off. The official on the field went to the official, Jim Tunney, after seeing the replay on the screen. Clearly, the ball touched the ground. He said that the whatever decision that Fred Silva made, that's what they'd have to stand by. But how can official I mean, hell, he's on the field.
I know.
I mean,
well, it's a ridiculous
system. They made the decision beforehand, though. I mean, right after the ball was hit the ground and was from the guy picked it up, they didn't signal an incomplete pass. They started signaling first down Houston.
Yeah.
But
well, we're going to find out after this season what happens. Like I said, it has been happening around the entire league, not just in the Minnesota Vikings, but it has turned out to be quite a sham. Well, after the game, the Vikings locker room was obviously a very quiet one, but Tim Irwin had this to say about the unexpected outcome.
Did you keep thinking that something was going to happen positive enough for this Viking team to pull it out in the end?
No, I knew. There was no question in my mind we were going to win the whole day. I never doubted that. I knew we weren't playing well, but I kept thinking we'd break the ice and win. And I blocked that field goal with just a few seconds left, and I thought that would be the turning point. Turn around and look, and they call a penalty I haven't seen called since I've been in the pros.
What was the call?
On a defensive lineman for pulling an offensive lineman out of the way to make a scene. You know, I've seen that called about twice in my life. It's frustrating. The striped shirts were almost as bad as we were, but they weren't really that much of a factor. It was our own poor play, and Houston really rose to the occasion.
Certainly, the aches and pains from today's game may linger a bit longer than usual. It's always easier and less painful when you win. But we thought it'd be interesting to see how one of our co-hosts, Greg Coleman, takes care of his body with a visit to his chiropractor, Dr. Brian Zins.
What we're looking for is mechanical problems within the spine, which would affect the performance of the muscles and also causing discomfort. But in a hooking procedure, as in punters and kickers of all kinds, we're looking for balance in the muscles. The leg should come straight, and with a muscle balance improper, the leg would be pulled one direction or another and would turn the ball over or send it 10 or 15 yards in a direction we don't particularly want. So we're always trying to balance not only the spine, but the leg as well. There's nothing magical or mystical about it. It takes a lot of hard work. We work a lot with the muscles. We balance the system a lot of times chemically as well as mechanically, and that people just really don't understand basically that if something is out of position, that it can cause a particular problem. The low back for anyone is the most unstable area, and with the punishment, there's really very no protection out there available for them. And the necks, everything pivots and turns on it, and with the hits to the face, as we've been seeing on some of the bad hits that are taken, and with the arm motions of the jamming effect, the disc areas are a problem here. So you get they can't turn the head, they have no use of the arms, they have the shoulder problems. A lot of this is related back to spinal, as opposed to just a muscle.
Dr. Brian Zins, and I know, Greg, that you've been seeing Dr. Zins for quite a while. A number of the Vikings have gone to him. You have the trainers on one end, you have the surgeons on the other. And the way we understand it is that Dr. Zins is someone who's in between to help in those cases where you just need a little extra help.
Well, Mark, the whole thing is you're looking for the edge. I mean, whatever it takes to keep you, performing each and every week to the best of your ability, that's what you should be able to do. There are only 28 people in the entire world, 27 people in the entire world that punt, in the National Football League. And the odds are 1,000,000 to 1, and I'm really trying to get the most out of my body that I possibly can. And if Brian can help me along the way, which he has done over the years, then I'm going to continue to go.
Do you feel you have become a better punter because of his help?
Well, I'm not sure if I've become a better punter, but I mean, statistics speaks for themselves. Since I've been going to Brian, things have, my body has been in shape, and I've been punting the ball well, so I think it goes hand in hand.
The one thing we did not bring up in the story, there's a lot to certainly his situation, is diet also. In particular, in your case, you're allergic to dairy products, and you were taking them, or eating ice cream a lot before games, and then you found out that this is one thing that was adversely affecting
These were things that I didn't know before I went to Brian and had a food allergy test. And those things that I'm allergic to, I try and stay away from, especially during the season. Like I mentioned, it may not make the full difference, but whatever edge that I can get, that's what I'm willing to do.
You guys abide by chiropractors at all?
I've gone once before.
Just once?
Yeah.
It's helped you?
I thought so.
Yeah. Scott, you're laughing.
No,
your body's been going through.
I'm well beyond the help from a chiropractor.
It's too late.
They can't do anything for me unless they can get inside and fix my brain a little bit.
Now, is this true that we heard this week that you're thinking about retiring at the end of this season?
No.
Okay, clear this up here.
In fact, I was approached by a couple of reporters who said they heard that I was retiring after next season.
Okay.
And the thought has crossed my mind, but I think, especially when you get to the point when you're my age, when you're Greg's age, of course.
Wait a minute. Hey, I'm not thinking about
the same age that I am. And
I don't have to worry about
But he's going to play for a long time because he's going to the chiropractor. So, but I'm at a point in my career where I think everything from here on out is a bonus. And I'm in a situation where I would like to play one more year. And, things are always subject to change. But once again, I'm having as much fun now as I've ever had, and I think this team has a great deal of potential, and I would like to be around that potential for another year anyway. But as I said before, everything from here on out, as far as I'm concerned, is a bonus, and that's a decision that I'll have to make next year. And I'm not, I have no intentions of retiring now.
That's good to hear.
But
how old are you guys?
Oh, we were
What
probably.
are you need for?
Oh, I wasn't including you in it when I asked you that.
32?
I'm 32.
We're both 32.
Okay.
You're about 35, and you got to keep waking up because you still got milk around your mouth.
It was hardly the eighth wonder of the world for the Vikings, but that's how the Houston Astrodome is billed, a place that has revolutionized all sports facilities.
When we Texans put things up, said one engineer, we put them up big. And big it certainly was. Constructed at a cost of $31.6 million, the Houston Astrodome would have the largest scoreboard and the longest dugouts of any baseball stadium in the country. It would also have a mess of trouble. When it opened on April 9th, 1965, the glare coming through the massive Lucite dome made it impossible for players to see a fly ball coming right at them. After trying balls of various colors, the Astrodome management wound up painting over many of the ceiling skylights. And then there was the grass. When 3.5 acres of the real thing died in the first year, it led to the hurried development of AstroTurf. In the years to come, other super stadiums would be going up. But when that first game was played, Houston's was still the biggest, the first, and almost as unique as the Astros' 2-1 victory over the New York Yankees.
Well, here's the sad story. The list of NFC playoff teams, even though their order has yet to be established, the Giants and Bears have won their respective divisions. Washington is assured of a wild card spot. And then this Friday, the Rams and the 49ers will meet to determine the Western Division champion, with the loser playing a wild card. And Scott, what could have, should have, maybe happened for the Minnesota Vikings, kind of rubbing salt in the old wound today when Miami, that went up on the board before your game was over. The Miami Dolphins had defeated the Rams, leaving it in your hands. Had you won today and next week, it would have been you guys on your way.
I think first of all, it was in our hands all along. I think we felt like we were in a position where we really controlled our own destiny. If we won the last 2 ball games, and finished 10-6, and didn't make it, then at least we gave it a chance. But after the loss today, obviously, we didn't give it that chance, and it's really hard, and it's very disappointing. It's aggravating, I think, when you think about all the chances that we've had the last 15 weeks to have clinched the playoff spot maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's unfortunate that it has to boil down to this and then lose in the fashion that we did today. If we would have lost to a superior team and just been beaten physically, then it's easier to accept. But when you play as poorly as we did today, and in a situation where we had to play our best, it makes it doubly hard.
Greg, does it say something to what this team still has to learn how to do, that is win the close ones?
I think that's a very good key, Mark. As we mentioned earlier in the season, a couple of years ago, the Giants, a couple other teams that are in the playoffs now, were losing close games, you know. And through that hurting process, which we're going through right now, the growing pains, they learned how to win. And that's what we're going to have to do. We've still got a few young guys, although we're not making excuses. Each and every man has got to search his heart and make sure that he gives an account of himself. Because next week is going to be a very key ball game. If we lose next week, we're not even thinking about, losing. But we've got to give a good account of ourselves and finish up on a high note, because if you don't, a lot of different things start to happen. So next week is a must-win for us.
A tough one to forget, Darren, considering what was at stake today?
Oh, it'll take until Sunday, probably. Early Sunday, though, because I'm always looking forward to going out there and playing, and just having another chance to play after a loss like that is pretty exciting to me.
Try to finish on a high note.
Right.
And that'll be against the New Orleans Saints. And of course, next week, join us right here for the Vikings tonight. As we look back on the good, the bad, and the ugly. In addition, we'll have our annual year-end features, plus some other surprises. And we'd like to thank everyone here at Twin City International Airport and the fine people at Northwest Airlines for their cooperation. We'll see you again next week right here on the Vikings Tonight. Good night.